Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Certainly having yourselves a fantastic ending to your day and had yourselves a great start to your week. I got you an update on the tropics tonight, and I certainly appreciate you folks joining me this evening as we discuss that. We have fully emerged to the beginning of peak hurricane season, and it looks the part out there in the Atlantic. We finally have moved past Hillary out there in the Pacific. I certainly hope you guys are recovering well out there in the Southwest, the Western U.S., as the very rare and unusual event is finally behind us. Pretty wild between the tropical storm. We even had an earthquake in LA. Pretty wild stuff out there. But the focus now goes to the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico. We got Franklin out there. We got Gert, which we won't even really talk about Gert just because it'll just basically be fully dissipated by the time we get into this time tomorrow. And then we got a wave we need to watch out there in the eastern areas of the main development region, the tropical Atlantic, that's fully off of the west coast of Africa now. And then we got Tropical Depression 9, which will likely become Tropical Storm Harold sometime in the next update. In fact, the next update comes out in about 30 to 45 minutes. So maybe I'll catch the update by the time I get to the end of this video. Most likely not. So if I call Tropical Depression 9 Harold often in this video, it's just because it's forecast to become Harold, and I think it is most likely going to become a tropical storm right before it makes landfall somewhere between Brownsville and Corpus Christi, Texas. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. The video this morning did very well. I appreciate the support. Welcome to any new subscribers. I've been having a hard time hitting the algorithm for some reason on YouTube, but it was nice to see a video do very well this morning. So thank y'all for the amazing support. It means the world. And like I said, welcome to the family that we have here on YouTube if you're a new subscriber. So let's take a look at the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. This was from 6:30, so this was about 30 to 45 minutes ago. We'll probably have some kind of other update here in about 45 minutes. But we have Tropical Depression 9, which is forecast to become Tropical Storm Harold. Okay, we do have Tropical Storm Franklin out there in the, I would pretty much call this still the eastern Caribbean, East Central Caribbean, if you will. And this is forecast to make a due north turn and affect the Dominican Republic sometime over the next 24 hours. Will it eventually make impact on the Dominican Republic sometime in the next couple of days? Gert is on your screen. It's technically not a tropical storm anymore. It's a tropical depression. But this will likely not even be on your screen by the time we get into this time tomorrow evening. And then we still got to watch this wave out here in the eastern tropical Atlantic. So I can tell you we're not even going to be talking about Harold, soon to be Harold, probably in the next few videos. We'll probably mention it again tomorrow morning just because it'll be on the fringe of making landfall in South Texas. But after we get past Tropical Depression 9/Harold, really all eyes go to Franklin. And eventually Franklin will make that landfall and then get north of the Dominican Republic, the Greater Antilles, and get out into the Southwest Atlantic. And all bets are off here. We need to watch Bermuda. We need to even watch the eastern U.S. I would say the chances are very low it impacts us here in the lower 48, but we need to watch Bermuda. We need to watch Nova Scotia up here in the northeast portion of Canada. So we certainly need to watch you folks up here too. And we will get more details on that as it basically comes to us. So let's take a look at the entire Atlantic Basin. That is soon to be Tropical Storm Harold right here. This is Franklin. The Franklin has definitely lost a lot of its intense convection this afternoon, this evening. This is what's left over of Gert. Such a weird name, old Gert. And if you see this spin right here, this was what's left over of Emily, which doesn't even show up on the National Hurricane Center outlook at all anymore. She is basically a naked spin out there, just out there kind of flashing everybody, just has no convection, just a gigantic low-level spin. And then we got this wave, which has really lost its convection. In fact, models have really dropped significantly on this wave out here that really looked like it had a lot of potential initially. But model guidance has really dropped off on this wave out here in the eastern Atlantic. But we get a closer look as the sun is beginning to slowly dim on what is soon to be Harold. This is a pretty large tropical cyclone in general, just not a very strong one. It's got a pretty huge cloud filled to it. So now most of the convection is a little bit more tight knitted into here, but you can see, I mean, it's got a gnarly little spin to it. I wouldn't say little, it's pretty broad, a very broad spin. But this is heading due west, right towards South Texas, where it'll make a landfall basically between Corpus Christi and Brownsville, and basically right along that, what is that, Highway 77 in South Texas corridor. So this is heading towards you guys. It's definitely getting that spinning look to it, and it's just running out of time. If it had more time, if it would slow down, this could potentially turn into a significant tropical system, maybe a hurricane even. But, I mean, it is chugging along west pretty quick, and then by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, we're likely having a landfalling tropical storm. And in fact, you look at what is technically Tropical Depression 9, soon to be Harold, forecast to be a tropical storm sometime tonight, and then make landfall. You got tropical storm warnings up for the southern coastline of Texas, even tropical storm watches up a little bit further north, not all the way up to Houston or anything like that. But Corpus Christi, down here to Brownsville, and everybody in between, certainly tropical storm warnings. I think you're going to get some pretty gusty winds with this. Okay, we just have to see how strong. Well, we've seen systems get very strong in like a 6 to 12 hour period. And I think that this, I would say the high end of soon to be Harold would be a mid-grade tropical storm, 60, 65 mile per hour tropical storm. And if that ends up occurring, we could certainly have a little bit of storm surge. We could have some power outages, and we're certainly going to get at least 2 to 4 inches of rain in this little small area down here. But this is chugging along at 18 miles per hour. So, I mean, I know that doesn't sound fast, but that's pretty quick in the tropics. We look at the latest HRRR model about how this can unfold over the next 12 to 24 hours. And we get into tonight, we start to get some of these feeder bands, these rain bands start to make contact with land here in South Texas, and heavy rain starts to fall on the immediate coastline between Corpus Christi and Brownsville, and then some of this really heavy, intense convection starts to really take over the southern portion of Texas. Gusty winds as we're waking up. I think you'll be waking up to tropical storm force conditions at times in those areas I just mentioned, basically all of extreme South Texas. These bands that move in, I mean, could definitely bring some squally weather. You could get some 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts with these bands that come in, and you even could get a quick spin up. It is very possible, especially with these storms up here to the north, we could get some rotation with some of these storms. But really the core of what will likely be Harold will make landfall probably sometime early, midway tomorrow morning. And once the core moves in, you're probably going to have a very small corridor right into here of winds pushing 40 to 50 miles per hour, probably wind gusts, not really sustained as much. But this will be a very tight rain core. This will move in. I mean, we're getting into tomorrow afternoon at this point. Some leftover moisture will funnel in. But by the time, I mean, we get to about midnight tomorrow night, I mean, this is heading off into northern sections of Mexico. This is gone. So it's a quick hitting, very compact tropical storm, I would say, even though it looks huge on a satellite visibility. It's pretty compact, and it'll at least deliver a cool down and some rain for you folks in South Texas tomorrow. Rainfall, well, let's actually talk about winds. National Weather Service forecast as far as winds, this is the National Weather Service too. It shows that core moving onshore between Corpus Christi and Brownsville, right here in this region right here, where winds could gust from 40 to 50 miles per hour. It's quite possible, but if you're not really close to the actual core of this tropical storm, you'll probably just get some breezy conditions. But, you know, once this core of this tropical storm moves, onto land down here in South Texas, I mean, it can knock out power, gusty winds for sure, wind-driven rain, and just all-out tropical storm conditions. That's why you got tropical storm warnings down here. So take this serious, but this isn't any kind of blockbuster storm by any means. But it will deliver, in the core of the heaviest rain, a good 3, 4, maybe as much as 5 inches of rain very quickly. Okay, everybody in Texas needs rain. So, unfortunately, there's a very tight rainfall gradient up here. Houston might not hardly get any. If they're lucky, they might get 0.2 of an inch of rain. So let's hope that they get some. Let's take a look at Franklin. Franklin really was popping off some intense convection for about a day and a half. But some of the convection has really fell apart. We call this time of the day diurnal minimum. It's actually a time of the day where sometimes tropical systems can kind of lose their convection. We'll talk about why in another video. This isn't a great example of that because I think I think the main reason why Franklin is struggling right now is just because of some shear, vertical shear that's really decoupling the storm, basically separating the mid-level convection that you see right here from the low-level circulation. So basically that low-level circulation is the heart of these tropical systems, right? And you need that mid-level convection, which is on top of the low-level circulation, to really protect that heart and soul of these tropical systems. And this has become decoupled, and I think you actually have a system that's really struggling right now. In fact, it might weaken on the next update or two. It's certainly not going to strengthen. But this is really bogged down, moving very slow. In fact, it's moving west at 5 miles per hour. Technically still a 50 mile per hour tropical storm right now. I have another update with this probably here in the next, like I said, 30 minutes to 1 hour. But forecast to remain tropical storm, make landfall sometime probably Wednesday morning into the Dominican Republic, right over these higher elevations of the Dominican Republic, probably weaken somewhat, then get back over land very quickly by the time we get into Wednesday night. And then it is forecast to remain a tropical storm through the weekend, and then sometime this coming weekend should become a hurricane. Bermuda right here. Some model guys has this going way over here, then like this, some like this. So it's a tricky forecast, but if you look at really what's pulling this system, and I've talked about this many times already, you got this upper trough right here, this that really comes down, and you basically have, you see these streamlines coming in like this, and then they come in like that, and they really help to pull this tropical system like this and then like that. And then finally, when this upper trough, or basically this trough that's dipping down all the way into the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean weakens, this will then try to find a weakness and begin to curl back out a little bit further north in the North Atlantic. And this is when it can threaten Bermuda, which is right here. So this will break down, and finally this upper trough will kind of lose the grip on this storm, if you will, and this will try to find a weakness again in the North Atlantic and turn due north again after maybe getting pulled maybe northeastward, if you will. So hope that makes sense. We'll move forward and we'll actually look at the model guidance for Franklin, and we get this in motion here. GFS really is saying, hey, this is going to strengthen again here sometime in the next 24 hours, make that landfall over the Dominican Republic, and then emerge sometime Wednesday night and the Thursday morning back over the Southwest Atlantic. And then look how it gets pulled back eastward, right? It almost goes southeastward. And then it kind of just dwindles around in this one spot this weekend. And then it starts to feel that weakness. And then it strengthens. And remember, Bermuda's right here. There's a trough digging down right here. And then it's just feeling that weakness in the pattern. It's heading north. This is the later part of the weekend. We're getting into Monday morning at this point. We have a very strong hurricane that's moving now. And I can tell you, some of the model guidance has trended west. It's something we have to watch for the eastern seaboard. But, you know, this continues to chug northward. We'll talk more about this here in a second. But as far as rainfall from the system, I mean, anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rain is possible over the Dominican Republic, especially these higher elevations. So we need to watch out for flooding in this region. A lot of rain is possible. I think at minimum you get 4 to 8 inches of rain widespread over the Dominican Republic. I think that Haiti, not as much rain, but as soon as you head into the Dominican Republic, this portion of Hispaniola, I guess I can't speak this evening. You guys know what I'm saying. The Dominican Republic, we'll just say that. That's when a lot of the heavy rain, where the heavy rain occurs for sure. But if you watch what happens, and I already kind of showed you some of this, kind of gave some of it away. If you watch what happens with Franklin, and if I call Franklin Harold by accident, that's not intentional, just a bunch of names going out there right now. I'm brain farting. Franklin will continue to head northward, miss Bermuda to the west, and then, I mean, it gets very close to Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch this for sure, okay? This is getting a little bit close to North America just in general, okay? And if you look at the European model, it does the same thing. Much weaker storm, kind of has the leftovers, or just flat out Franklin is kind of drifting around here in the Southwest Atlantic, finds that weakness just like the GFS, and it actually gets it even further west. I mean, it's almost bringing a rain shield into the Outer Banks. And we got like a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane very close to the eastern seaboard, but this actually gets a little bit closer to Nova Scotia. Okay, so we got to watch this model guidance. We got to watch the timing of a trough, that these troughs, that cold fronts that keep getting pulled down into the northeast, because they are a huge steering current mechanism and coming together as far as the steering currents for these tropical systems. So if you look at the European ensemble, we'll only go out to about Sunday. It does have it moving over, the Dominican Republic, kind of jolting eastward and then back north. So we got to watch this for sure, especially in Bermuda. If I was in Bermuda, I would have all eyes on this right now. Here's what's left over of Emily, that naked swirl out there. There's that eastern tropical wave emerging into the picture, very weak. There's what's left over of Gert, and both of these just none of these really have any favorable model guidance showing big time development at all. This was actually showing some decent development, but now it's substantially dropped off, and we might not get anything out of this wave that just came off the western coastline of Africa. So that's all I got. Sorry if that came off kind of sloppy. When you make a lot of videos, not all of them is going to be perfect. I know you guys understand. But that's all I got, guys. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll talk to you again soon.